Welcome to Book Banter with me, your host, Dianne Burkhart. I hope you will join me every Wednesday as we explore all things to do with, well, books. Let's get on with our show today. Hello, my happy people. Today is November 20th, 2024, and I have got another fantastic author for you, and our interview today is so incredibly unique. For one thing, I forgot to have them give us a synopsis of their story. And the other thing is they are an amazing musician as well. And they created a soundtrack to go along with their book. You can download the soundtrack from Apple Music and from Spotify, I believe. You can find links for both of these in our next issue of Book Banter magazine. And you will also find so much more information about him as well as every single author that we have spoken to in season 3 in our next issue of Book Banter magazine. But we'll talk about all that later. Right now, we need to focus on our guest. Please welcome to Book Banter with Dianne Burkhart, David Atkinson. The way that I like to start our episodes is just to have our guest please tell our listeners who you are and what you do.
Yep. My name's David Atkinson. I'm a part-time writer. There's not many full-time writers out there. And unfortunately, I don't have that privilege. So I started writing seriously about 10 years ago. Prior to that, I'd just been doing some theatre scripts and stuff like that. But that kind of got me into the bug of writing, which I did, I suppose, as a kid. I used to read lots and lots of books. In fact, I think if I go right back to high school, they used to hand out Shakespeare and Thomas Hardy and Charles Dickens, and all the kids used to groan, but I used to love it.
I was actually quite the little nerd in junior high. I had a leather-bound edition of the complete works of Shakespeare that I would carry around with me everywhere and read whenever I had a few free moments.
So yeah, there was probably some signs if I look back on that, because I used to love the big tomes, and I think that's probably where my love of literature came from in the first place.
Now, does your day job have anything to do with writing?
My day job has absolutely nothing to do with writing at all. I work in financial services, which is just, investments, pensions, that kind of stuff. So it's completely dry and completely different from writing. So writing's a kind of escape, really. Day job, escape from the kids, escape from the dog.
With something that's like so completely analytical, it's interesting that the things that you do for fun is completely the other side of the brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a musician as well, so that all kind of comes into play, that creative side. I've always been quite arty, but I was also very sporty at school, so the two things don't always go hand in hand.
Well, and actually being a musician makes sense because it kind of combines the creative and the numerical side of your brain. Because numbers are so involved in music.
Yes, it does. The left side of the brain, so you've got a lot of editing to do. Yeah, the left side of the brain is, I don't really think of it left and right, but yeah, my creative side is great. I can lose hours playing with music. Days disappear and I don't notice. So it's quite dangerous when I pick up a guitar or something.
I can understand that. Now, I have to admit, I had a hard time researching you. I could not find a lot of information on you online. Do you do that on purpose?
There's my Amazon author page, and I did have an author website, but I just got rid of it because I wasn't doing anything with it, and it was starting to cost money.
Yeah.
So I didn't see the point in having one that just sits there and nobody goes to. So, no, there's no intention. I've got my Facebook profile, and there's really just my Amazon page, and there's some stuff on Harper Collins if you look hard enough.
So now you have both been traditionally published and self-published. Which one did you prefer?
There's a bit of a story to it. I've always been traditionally published up until the last book, and I still have a contract with Harper Collins. I sent them a manuscript last week, which is sent back to me to fix, which is what happens. So I'm still doing both. The reason Future Proof I self-published was because it didn't fit Harper Collins' list. That's what he said. I didn't know if that meant it didn't fit the list or they didn't like it. And I had that option of maybe trying to find an agent, find another publisher. But when traditional publisher turns down a manuscript, it's probably not going to get placed anywhere else. So I thought I'll just have a go at self-publishing this one. But interestingly enough, I set myself a goal with that I wasn't going to spend a penny. So I did absolutely everything myself. Editing, which I know is not a great idea, proofreading, design, formatting, and also just getting the book out there, and all the marketing and stuff that goes with it. So I initially got the thing out there in January 2023 for absolutely nothing. That was one of my aims, because when I'm traditionally published, I don't pay anything, so I'm not going to start paying people loads of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was hard work. But at the same time as doing that, I also released an album of songs to go with the book. So I kind of bogged myself down in all sorts of chaos for 6 months to get that done. But the experience of self-publishing is quite empowering, because what I find now is if I have a book that maybe a traditional publisher doesn't want, I think, well, let's do it myself. It's quite freeing in a way. And also, the strange thing was that Future Proof has outsold every single other book I have by about 10 to 1.
And I was going to say, you've obviously done a very good job with this, because you have almost 2,400 reviews on this one book. And It's sitting at a 4.5 star rating on Amazon right now. It's been out for, about a year?
Year and a half now.
Yeah, a year and a half. And you're still up in the 200s in one of the categories. That's amazing.
It sells about 10, 15 copies a day. And also it has a lot of downloads. I think it's got 2.8 million pages read on KDP, so it's still going like a train. And I'm not actually doing very much. I've got a Facebook ad that I kind of run every so often, and that's it really.
So do you think this will push you to maybe try some more self-publishing in the future?
I certainly will. I'm planning, I'm halfway through, a third of a way through a sequel to that one called Future Perfect, which I hope to get out by Christmas, but if I decide to do another album of songs to go with it, then I probably won't. But yeah, I will. I'll do more, and also keep the traditional going as well. The problem I've got is because I work full time, I've got a family. I can only commit, an hour a day or something to writing, so it takes longer than it would if I was doing that full time.
Yeah, time does seem to be a big problem for a lot of authors anymore, because there are so few that can afford to do it full time. So you just have to work in your writing time whenever you can around life.
Yeah, pretty much. I usually steal in half an hour at lunchtime and half an hour at the end of the day, so I'm not doing it in the evening because I'm quite tired by then, so it's probably not the best time to do it.
Now, your book, Future Proof, is very unique in the fact that it does come with a soundtrack.
Yes.
What made you decide to do that?
I posted it on a forum. I said, it'd be good to write a load of songs to go with the book, and then all these people said, that's a great idea, and I thought, well, maybe it is a good idea. I didn't really know what I was letting myself in for, because I can only really play instruments, and I've never really done any of the production side.
Mm-hmm.
So when I set out to do it, I thought writing songs is easy, but it's actually not, because I have to write about 25, 30 songs to get one I like.
Yeah. So
it's a long process. And then I didn't really understand music production because I'd never done it before. So I've got music software, but I didn't have a clue how to use it. So and during the winter evenings of 2023, I enrolled on a free course at the London Guildhall, which actually takes you through music production, and it was 6 hours a week, but you didn't, it was a video thing, so you could tape it and watch it later. But it took me 3 months to get a rough idea of what I was doing, and then you just kind of learn as you go along. So the music production side of thing is, it's amazing because what you're able to do, because if you go back in time, if you're sitting playing a piece on the piano and you hit a wrong note, you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
But the lovely thing about music production software is you can just go back and edit that note.
Yeah.
So whilst it takes time, it's quicker than it used to be, because you don't have to go back and start again at the beginning, which is what you used to have to do in the old days.
Yeah, I do think that I have become extremely fond of editing software, because you can do the same thing with the podcast. There's so many fantastic things that you can do with editing software on everything now.
It doesn't write songs for you, it doesn't play instruments for you, but it shortcuts everything else to the point where, if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter, I'll just carry on, which is just great, because it's so disruptive and you have to stop and go back and start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took time, and it wasn't so much the production; it was just getting stuff done, plus trying to write a book at the same time. It's gone down okay. I mean, the book's sold really well, and the album was kind of done. Well, it's had about, I think, 12,000 downloads, but I suspect that's pretty much everybody that's downloaded the book has done that, and probably a lot of them haven't listened to it. They just did it because there's a link to it in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, but that's such a unique idea. I love that.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually been done like that before. There's a few people that have done a combination, but I don't think anyone that's actually sat and wrote every song, played every instrument, and done all the production and written the book as well. There's a few people that have done some collaborations, but actually to sit and do it yourself is a huge task. Oh, I actually didn't pick my guitar up for about 3 months after I'd finished. I was so fed up with it.
I can understand that. Now, the other two books that you have on Amazon right now, Love, Byte, and The Second Life of Nathan Jones.
Yeah.
Those are both romantic comedies as well.
Yes, they are.
So what is it that you like about writing romantic comedies?
Well, when I started on, my first book was Love, Byte. I didn't actually know it was a romantic comedy. I hadn't really thought of the genre when I was writing it. It was only when it got finished that when I sent it off to a load of people, it started to come back with a romantic comedy theme, and I thought, oh, that's what that is, isn't it? But it's just kind of what I write. To be fair, Future Proof isn't so much romantic comedy as there's not a lot of humour in it. It's probably more a romantic drama, and I think. I mean, there's a few laughs in there, but it wasn't written predominantly like that. So it's a little bit different. So it was a little bit of a departure for me. Love, Byte did really well, and it was shortlisted for the Romantic Novelists Book of the Year, which was a real eye opener going to that in London, because I was kind of sitting there with my bus ticket, and all these authors are coming in with their entourages of managers and agents and publishers, and I'm thinking, this is crazy. So that was a real eye opener. The Second Life of Nathan Jones, if I could go back and redo things, I would. Because I was with Harper Collins, I accepted every single thing they told me to do, which I would never, ever, ever do again, because they took the heart out of the book, I think. Because although it's a comedy, it's about a girl who has real mental health issues. And, they just took a lot of the really, what I thought, powerful parts out. And it was kind of left as a shell of what it would have been. So that will never happen again, because I've learned from that. So I think the book lost a lot of its integrity when that happened.
Have you ever thought about just releasing a special edition as a self-published book?
I'd have to get the permissions back from Harper Collins, which they probably wouldn't give me, considering I've still got a contract with them for other things.
Yeah. That's one of the things that you always hear about from so many authors who go traditionally published, is that the publishing house asks them to do things to their books that they don't feel good about. Changing the cover, changing the title, changing the book, taking out parts that are so important to them as the author. And if you want the contract, you have to do it.
Yeah, and I won't now, because I'm kind of in an empowered position, because I did Future Proof exactly on my terms, exactly as I wanted it to be. And it was proved right. So I kind of trust my judgment, so that will never happen again. And certainly, the manuscript I've got back at the moment, I'm looking at it thinking I'm not changing some of this stuff because I don't agree with it. Other bits are absolutely fine. Like, oh yeah, okay. But if for me, if it's a big thing, I'm not going to change it. And if they don't want it, that's fine. I'll live with that.
That's a very good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what kind of process do you go through whenever you get an inspiration? How do you start your book? Do you do outlines?
I do, yes. I'm not a complete pantser. I do an outline. I don't always stick to it. It kind of wanders off on its own, but I have a rough outline of the beginning, the middle, all the key milestones that I want to put in there, and the ending. I always know what the ending is, because you have to write towards something, and I have to. But what tends to happen in between is lots of things change and ideas come along, and I change it. I don't necessarily change the outline, because I know by then where I'm going. But I always have I use an Excel spreadsheet with all the bits and pieces on it, with people's names, numbers, what they do, what they don't do, what happens to them. So I have a very broad outline. I don't go into the nth degree of it. I just have to know roughly where I'm going. I also tend to write 3 or 4 different things at once, which sounds really confusing, but it just stops me getting stale, because I find if some days I'm sitting looking at something and I'm not doing anything and I haven't really got any editing to do, I'll go and do something else, because if the muse isn't on your shoulder, as I say, if she's not there, she's not going to come, so I have to go and try something different.
Now, what part of all of this, the writing, the publishing, promoting, what is it that's the easiest for you?
The writing's the easiest.
And what's the hardest?
Promoting. It's just it's brutal. And I've probably spent more time trying to promote a book than I have writing it, and that's trying to do it without spending a lot of money, because that was my aim, was not to spend a lot of money. Partly to prove that you can do it without spending a fortune, because if you look at all the writers' forums, people are spending £5,000-6,000 to get their book published, and I'm thinking, I'll never make that back. The average self-published book sells 200-300 copies.
Yeah.
But people don't realise that, and it's a shame. And I'm coming at it slightly differently because I've been writing for a while, so I wasn't a complete novice. But if you're coming into this shark-infested environment, if people say, I could do this for you, I can do that for you, and charging you £2,000 for editing, and it's really important to keep your head on, because people are spending their family holiday money on a book which will never ever make that back, and just to say, I've got a book, and I don't think that's that important, but it isn't for me.
What social media avenue or other kind of promotional thing do you think has worked best for you?
The Facebook ads work. Actually, the weird thing about Facebook ads is the less you spend on them, the better they are. I don't quite know how that works, but if you put £1 or $1 a day as a budget, it does much better than if you've put $10 a day. Not that I've ever done that for more than a few days, but the lower you spend, the better it is. I don't know why that is, but I'm quite happy with that. I tried TikTok. Something crazy happened last December. It was on my wife's birthday, actually, so I didn't even notice because we were out. And it got picked up by some influencer on TikTok. I don't know who it was. I've never been able to find out. But the book started selling like hundreds of copies a day for about 3 days. It just shot straight to, I think it went up to number 12 in Amazon overall in the US and number 3 in the UK. And it was top of all the genres for about a week and a half. It just went absolutely crazy. And I don't know to this day who promoted it. Unfortunately,
that's incredible.
It was great. So TikTok must work really well, but you have to find people, and I'm not very good at doing that.
Well, and unfortunately, too, people were having such success on TikTok, and then they changed the algorithms. So now a lot of people who are getting thousands of hits on their videos are now getting like 60. Because you have to redo everything now and do it a different way to hit the audience that you want. So they're keeping things mixed up so that it doesn't get stagnant and people have to start doing fresh content and doing it different ways. And yeah, it's kind of a pain for those who are trying to use it for promotion.
Yeah. There's a few book bloggers did a few things for me as well, and I sent it to them, which was quite nice. Over the first 6 months, I think that helped a little bit. They didn't have huge audiences, which is a shame. I sent Dua Lipa a copy, but I never heard back from us. I assume that didn't go anywhere.
So now, since you have all this experience with being traditionally published and doing the self-publishing, if you had it all to do over again with this knowledge, how do you think you would do it?
I would probably still do the same, because I learned so much from working with a traditional publisher. You work with some incredible people, and the feedback you get, you look at a manuscript that, a really, really professional editor has been through. Even if you take out the bits they want you to change because they're frustrated writers inside, the insight they have into some of the language and the structure is brilliant, and and you learn so much from that. So I don't think I would have done as well as I have done had I not been through that experience. So I would still do that, and I still, if I hasn't, I'd still giving stuff to Harper Collins. I still have that desire to be traditionally published. The problem with being self-published is there's a lack of credibility. It doesn't matter how successful you are. You're still looked down on by the literary community. Not that particularly worries me, but for example, I sent in my future-proof to the Romantic Novelists Association because they've started accepting self-published books. But the ones that were in the fantasy, and the one I sent them was absolutely spot on. It had been edited to an inch of its life before I sent it to them. It didn't even get a mention, and at least 4 of the books on there I'm not doing anywhere near as well as mine, or as well written as mine, in my opinion. Of course, I'm a little bit biased, but I think just to look at it and think, well, yeah, I'm not going to bother even reading it. And I think that's the problem. Is there's so many terrible books published every day in the self-published category that the reputation is just. I can't say it's not merited, because there's absolute rubbish. But 99.8% of the stuff that's published is absolute junk. So finding people like I can't remember his initials, Mr. Pearson, that does all the Clements books, who I absolutely love, and I have an email correspondence with him every so often. We have a good moan. And he's incredibly successful. And there's another guy called R.R. Haywood who writes kind of off the wall and zombie stuff. He's just done phenomenally well. So there are people out there that can write brilliantly, and have chosen not to be traditionally published because they're making enough money on their own. Mm-hmm. I'm not at that point. If I was, I probably wouldn't be looking to be traditionally published anymore, because you're kind of totally independent then.
From what I've heard from a lot of people who are actually good at the indie publishing side of everything, is you have to have about like 20 books available before you're making enough money to just be an indie author.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. You need and it helps if it's a series, because they just, they move on to the next one, the next one, the next one, and people are always finding it. So yeah, I think that really helps. I'm quite a long way off the 20 book. I think that's valid. I think that's totally valid. I think once you're up at as long as they're good. I think if people like one book, they'll go and buy another and buy another. And I think at that point, you're right, you become self-sufficient.
Now, do I have this right? Your first 2 books, The Love Bite and The Second Life of Nathan Jones, they were both published in 2019?
No, Love Bite was published in 2015.
2015, okay.
Yeah.
So then you have quite a few years between your books, then, because you have 2015, 2019, then 2023.
Yeah.
Why is there such a gap in there? Just because of how long it takes you to write it?
It's partly that, and I've got a few other things that's, are kind of 3/4 finished and haven't got there yet. I think, the other thing as well, your first couple of books you write are never going to be published, because they're so bad in general. And I don't think I even sent any of them off. They were so bad. So it wasn't until I got to writing Love Bite that I thought I might have something here. So in between that time, there's a few other things. There's a manuscript which is Quiet Kisses, which is with Harper Collins just now. There's a book I wrote during lockdown about some kind of end of the world type book, which hasn't gone anywhere yet. I might send it off somewhere. I might publish it, but it's not in my near future. So I have been writing. I just don't maybe publish everything that I write, which is I don't know if that's typical or not of writers, but it is with me.
Actually, I've heard that quite a bit. And almost every author who has something successful out, they always admit that the first book that they wrote was absolute garbage in their opinion, and they have never even shown it to anybody. It's like, it's amazing how many authors say that. And I always think, if the current book that you have out is so good, I can't imagine that first one was that bad that you would never want anyone to see it.
It's weird, isn't it? But maybe that's why, the self-publishing world has got such a bad reputation, because people finish something and shove their first book up there thinking it's going to be a bestseller. And ultimately, it should never have seen the light of day. But there's no one to tell people that. So, I don't know if it's a self-restrictive process, or you need someone to say, actually, this is terrible, don't even let anyone see this. So I don't quite know the answer to that, but yeah, I don't think anyone should publish a first book.
So now this seems like a good time to do our 5 quick questions that never turn out to be quick, but we still keep doing it anyway. Although we have changed it up a little bit. Have you ever heard of the game Kiss, Marry, Kill?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a little bit like that. What I'm going to give you is a category with 3 options, and you have to pick the one that you must have in your life, that you're okay if you have it or you don't have it, and one that you're ready to give up today.
Okay.
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Your first group of options for animals: dogs, cats, or rodents?
Got to have a dog. Could have a cat. You don't want a rodent ever.
So it'd be must have dogs.
Must have dog.
Then you would be okay with having cats.
Hmm?
And you're ready to give up rodents today.
Yeah.
See, I'm actually very fond of rats. So I would probably give up cats first. Option 2, for movies: sci-fi, comedy, or action?
Sci-fi, comedy, and action. Could give up action.
Oh, I don't think I'd give up action. I'd probably give up comedy. Because if I give up action, although I don't know, it might fall under comedy too. I just saw Wolverine and Deadpool, so.
A lot of sci-fi is action in it anyway, so you can probably get your fix with that.
Then it's really funny, so we'll throw that into comedy. We'll just count it for all of them. So option 3, for ice cream: chocolate, vanilla, or a fruit flavor?
Oh, vanilla first, then strawberry, and chocolate last. I don't like chocolate ice cream.
Huh, good choices. So vanilla's my favorite too. So for travel: US, Europe, or Latin America? South America specifically.
US first. I love going to the US. Then Europe, and then South America. My friend Johnny went to South America in his gap year and came home and had to get an operation to get spiders cut out of his leg. So.
Oh my goodness.
No,
okay.
From Brazil, so no thank you.
Oh, okay, that is going to give me nightmares. Okay, your last option groups are books. Would you write, read, or publish?
I'm a reader first. I think every writer is, so I would always read first. I read loads of books. So I would read, write, publish. Because I write and don't publish things, so.
What's really funny, almost everybody that I have asked this question, they're happy to give up publishing, but they'll never give up writing. It's like they will always have to write whether they share it with anybody or not.
Yeah, it's a compulsion, but I could give up too, and I'd still read loads of books, so I always have done.
Yeah, I can't imagine not having books. There's just no way. So now let's remind everybody again who you are and what book we have been talking about.
It's David Atkinson, and you've been talking mostly about a sci-fi action book adventure book really, called Future Proof.
And where can we find that book?
It's only on Amazon. I haven't published it anywhere else because it seemed easier to do that. So you'll find it on Amazon US, Amazon UK, Amazon Canada, Amazon Australia.
And I did find it on German Amazon too.
Okay, cool. I haven't looked over there, so that's good. Probably can. Well, actually, their English is probably better than mine, so they'll probably like it.
And if people wanted to follow along with what else you have coming out, what is the best place to follow you?
The best place to follow me is on my Amazon author page, and I'll update everybody on there.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this interview. And all of your contact information and where people can go to find your books will be in the description of today's podcast, as well as on our website and in the October-November issue of Book Banter magazine.
Lovely, that's brilliant. Thanks very much for that.
So there you have it, folks. My interview with the amazing and talented David Atkinson. Be sure to pick up your copy of the soundtrack from Apple Music or Spotify whenever you get his book, Future Proof, and I highly recommend that. Check the description of today's podcast for links so you can do both of those things today. Now, I also wanted to give you a little bit of information about our next issue of Book Banter magazine. This one will be dropping a little bit early. We're going to drop it before Thanksgiving, so that you will have it for your holiday shopping. Because this magazine not only covers the authors who are going to be in our December episodes and our holiday hiatus episodes between season 3 and season 4 that we interviewed at the Frankfurt Book Mesa this year, but it also has every single author we have spoken to in season 3 with live links for all of their books, and many of them we have also included books that they have published since we had them on the show. So you have new information that was not available when they were doing their interview with us. And we want you to have all of this so that you can go and find the best books for your own to-be-read list and for everyone on your holiday shopping list this year. It is a very big issue compared to the other ones that we have put out. It's about 120 pages. And to give you all a special treat for this holiday, normally whenever we have the year-end book buying guide, it's a higher price. But this year, to give all of you a special treat, we're keeping it at just $2.99 like the regular issues. So be sure to go to burkhartbooks.com and go to our Book Banter magazine page, and you will be able to buy a copy directly from our website. And keep watching our social media for when all of our print issues are available. I'm a little behind on converting some of the formats for this. It's taking a lot longer than I expected, but print versions of all of the magazines will be coming soon. I think for today that ought to be enough. There's so much more coming though. Please keep watching our social media and sign up for our mailing list at burkhartbooks.com because we're getting ready to open author applications for season 4. And we're going to announce that first to those people on our mailing list, and it will be announced later on our social media. So if you're on our mailing list, you're going to get first crack at getting the open slots for interviews. And we only have about 36 that we will need to fill this next season. So they're going to go fast. Okay, I think that's enough for today. I hope you all have a wonderful day wherever you are. And it's now time for you all to go forth and be happy.